I didn't expect my life to start changing because of a hamstring stretch. That's the stupidest part of this whole story. Not some dramatic confession. Not a kiss in the rain. A stretch. I'd signed up for personal training because I hated what I saw in the mirror. Not in a dramatic, I'm spiraling way. Just that quiet, constant disappointment. I was 24, working a remote marketing job, barely leaving my apartment except for groceries and the occasional forced social event. I wasn't out of shape exactly. Just soft, slouched, tired looking, like I'd given up before I'd even started. That's when I met Elijah. He was leaning against the front desk the first day I walked into the gym, arms crossed, fitted black shirt hugging his chest like it had been designed specifically for him. He wasn't huge in that steroid-y, intimidating way. He was just solid. Broad shoulders, defined arms, calm posture, the kind of body that looks earned. "You here for the 6 p.m. assessment?" he asked. His voice was steady, low, not overly friendly but not cold either. "Yeah, Aiden," I said, trying not to sound as awkward as I felt. "Elijah," he replied, offering his hand. His grip was firm, warm, confident. I noticed that immediately. I noticed things like that. The first session was normal. Measurements, mobility tests, a few awkward squats while he corrected my form by lightly pressing on my lower back. "Don't round here," he said, fingers firm against my spine. "Chest up." That touch lasted maybe 2 seconds. I thought about it all night. It wasn't that I hadn't been around attractive men before. I'm gay. I've had crushes. I've dated. But something about the dynamic felt different. Controlled. Intentional. He wasn't flirting. He wasn't trying to be charming. He was focused. And for some reason, that focus landed on me like heat. Over the next few weeks, we fell into routine. Tuesdays and Fridays at 6. Strength training, then stretching at the end. He pushed me hard. More than I expected. "You're stronger than you think," he'd say when I wanted to quit. And I wanted to quit a lot. But he never yelled. Never mocked. He just stood close. The first time something shifted was during a late session. The gym was nearly empty. Just us and the hum of the overhead lights. I was on my back on a mat, one leg raised while he guided it deeper into a stretch. "Relax," he said quietly. "I am relaxed. You're not. Breathe, Aiden," he murmured. And I swear the way he said my name felt different. Slower. I exhaled, forcing my muscles to release. "That's better," he said, standing up like nothing had happened. I didn't say anything. Couldn't. After that night, I started noticing things. The way his eyes lingered a second too long when I took off my hoodie. The way his corrections became more hands-on. The way he'd text to confirm sessions with something almost personal. "You eating enough protein? Don't slack just because I'm not there." It wasn't flirty, but it wasn't distant either. One evening, I showed up early. The front desk girl told me Elijah was finishing with another client, so I waited near the stretching area. That's when I saw him laugh. I hadn't seen that before. Not fully. He was spotting some tall guy on bench press, joking about something, relaxed and easy. For a second, jealousy hit me so unexpectedly I almost laughed at myself. I had no claim to him. He was my trainer. That's it. But when his eyes found mine across the room, his expression shifted. Not cold, just focused again, like I'd snapped him back into something. He wrapped up quickly after that. "Ready?" he asked me. "Yeah." That session was intense. He pushed me harder than usual. "More weight, more reps. You're holding back," he said when I struggled on the last set. "I'm really not." "You are." He stepped behind me as I gripped the barbell. His hands came around mine, adjusting my grip. Arms were shaking. I don't know if it was from the weight. After I racked it, I stood there catching my breath. He didn't step away immediately. "You don't trust your own strength," he said. "That's kind of why I hired you." He huffed a quiet laugh. "That's not what I mean." When we finished, I sat up, grabbing my water bottle. "Elijah," I said before I could stop myself. "Yeah. Why do you care so much?" The question hung between us. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he crouched down in front of me, elbows resting on his knees. "Because," he said slowly. You're not here just to lift weights. I frowned. What does that mean? His gaze held mine. You're here because you're trying to fix something. That hit harder than any workout he'd put me through. And, I asked, and working on yourself, he continued, voice lower now, doesn't just happen in the gym. My pulse spiked. There it was. Something unspoken, sitting right between us. I swallowed. So what are you saying? He stood up again, stepping back just enough to put space between us. I'm saying, he replied evenly, if you're going to do this, you have to be honest. About what? About what you actually want. The gym felt too quiet. I knew what he was asking, and I had no idea if answering would ruin everything. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just about squats and protein shakes anymore. Elijah wasn't just helping me build muscle. He was seeing right through me, and I wasn't sure I was ready for that. I didn't sleep much after that session. Not because anything happened, that was the problem. Everything that didn't happen kept replaying in my head. His voice, the way he looked at me like he already knew the answer to questions I was too scared to ask out loud. What do you actually want? Felt unfair that he'd said that and then just walked away, like he'd opened a door in my chest and left me alone in the room. The next few sessions were different, not colder. If anything, more controlled. Elijah stayed professional to the point of rigidity. Clear instructions, minimal touch, shorter conversations. If I tried to joke, he smiled politely and redirected me back to form or reps. I told myself I was imagining the shift. I wasn't. By the fourth week, it was driving me insane. Did I do something wrong? I finally asked halfway through a cooldown. He was wiping down a bench, not looking at me. Why would you think that? Because you're acting like I crossed some line. That got his attention. He straightened slowly, towel in hand. You didn't, he said. I did. My chest tightened. How? I shouldn't have said what I said. So you didn't mean it? His jaw flexed. The gym was busy enough that no one was paying attention, but for some reason it still felt like we were alone in a bubble. Elijah, I said more quietly, you can't tell someone to be honest about what they want and then punish them for taking you seriously. That finally cracked something. He exhaled slowly, running a hand over the back of his neck. I'm not punishing you. Then what are you doing? He looked at me then. Really looked at me. I'm putting space where there should be space. The word should landed heavy. Because you're my trainer, I said. Yes. And because you're not interested, I added, bracing myself. He didn't answer right away. That's not the problem, he finally said. My heart started racing. Then what is, he said quietly, is that I noticed you noticing me. I swallowed. Okay. And instead of shutting that down immediately, he continued, I let it go on. Something warm and terrifying spread through my chest. So, you noticed too? Yes. Silence. Then why pull away now? I asked. Because, he said, voice lower. This is the part where people usually get hurt if no one sets rules. I laughed softly, more nerves than humor. You think I'm not already there? That made him wince. Just slightly. He looked past me for a second, like he was checking the room, then back at me. Finish your stretch, he said. We'll talk after. After what? After your session. The rest of the workout felt like torture. Every instruction sounded loaded. Every correction felt restrained, like he was holding himself back. When it ended, I grabbed my things, heart pounding. Locker room, he said. I'll wait. That sentence alone was enough to make my hands shake. When I came back out, he was leaning against the wall near the exit, gym bag at his feet. The lights outside were dimming, evening settling in. You don't have to say anything, I told him quickly. If this is a bad idea. Aiden, he interrupted, calm but firm. Stop trying to make this easier by backing out. I froze. I meant what I said, he continued. About you working on something deeper, and about honesty. Then be honest with me, I said. He held my gaze. No smile, no teasing. I'm attracted to you. There it was. Simple, direct, no drama. My breath caught. Okay. But, he added immediately, that doesn't mean we act on it the way things are now. The familiar drop hit my stomach. Because of ethics. Because of power, he corrected. And timing. I nodded slowly. So what does that mean? It means, he said, if this is going to be anything, it has to be intentional. Clean. My voice came out softer than I intended. And if I say I want it to be something? His eyes searched my face. Then I'd ask you to prove you know what you're asking for. How? He hesitated, then made a decision. Finish your training block, he said. For more weeks. Same intensity. Same focus. No flirting. No games. And after that? If you still feel the same, he said quietly, we revisit the conversation. As equals. My heart was pounding so loud I was sure he could hear it. And if I don't? I asked. Then you'll still be stronger, he replied. And more honest with yourself. I thought about everything that had led me here. The mirror. The frustration. The way he saw me before I knew how to see myself. Okay, I said. A slow smile finally touched his lips. Not cocky. Not playful. Respectful. Good, he said. Then we're clear. As I turned to leave, he added, Aiden? Yeah. Whatever happens later, he said, voice low. I'm proud of you for not running. I walked out of the gym feeling lighter and more wound up than I had in years. For weeks suddenly felt like a very long time. And also like the beginning of something I wasn't ready to name yet. The first week of no flirting, no games was brutal. Not because Elijah changed anything obvious. If anything, he became even more dialed in. Structured workouts. Clear goals. Written progress tracking. He treated me like an athlete preparing for something important. Which, in a way, I just wasn't sure if I was training for him or for myself. Add 5 pounds, he said during our Tuesday session, nodding toward the bar. I barely got the last set. You barely got it because you hesitated. I hesitated because I enjoy breathing. A small smirk tugged at his mouth. 5 pounds. I rolled my eyes but did it. The weird thing was he was right. My body was changing. My shoulders looked broader. My posture straighter. I caught myself checking my reflection in the locker room mirror and not immediately looking away. But it wasn't just physical. Something else was shifting too. I was sleeping better. Eating intentionally. Showing up on time. Speaking up at work instead of fading into the background on calls. Elijah noticed everything. You're walking differently, he said one Friday while we cooled down. That sounds ominous. It's not. You're taking up space. The way he said it made my chest tighten. I wanted to reach for him so badly sometimes it physically hurt. Especially during stretches when he'd kneel beside me, hands steady but measured, always professional, which only made me respect him more. That second week, something unexpected happened. I came in distracted. Work drama. My ex texting out of nowhere. My head was loud and messy. Elijah noticed immediately. You're not here, he said during warm-ups. I'm here. You're physically present. I sighed. Can we just lift? He stepped in front of me before I could grab the weights. What happened? It's nothing. Aiden. The way he said my name firm but not pushy broke something in me. My ex reached out, I admitted. Said he misses me. Wants to talk. And I don't know what I feel. Elijah's expression didn't change, but something in his posture did. Subtle tension. Do you miss him? He asked. I hesitated too long. That's your answer, he said quietly. It's not that simple. It is. I scoffed. You don't know what it was like. You're right, he replied calmly. I don't. But I know what you look like when something is right for you. My stomach flipped. And this? I asked before I could stop myself. He held my gaze. Steady. This isn't about me. But it was. We both knew it. That night, I almost texted my ex back. Instead, I deleted the message thread. Not because of Elijah. Not exactly. But because I realized I'd been holding on to something familiar instead of something healthy. By week 3, the tension had evolved into something heavier. Not frantic. Not desperate. Intentional. He'd watch me finish a set with this look like he was measuring more than just muscle growth. Like he was assessing discipline, patience, control. One evening, The gym closed early because of a maintenance issue. He texted me an hour before our session. Come by anyway. We'll train in the private studio. My pulse jumped. The private studio was a smaller room in the back. Mirrors on one wall. Minimal equipment. No front desk staff wandering around. When I walked in, he was already there. Hoodie on. Sleeves pushed up. Door locks automatically, he said casually. That sounds reassuring, I replied, trying to keep my voice even. He didn't smile this time. That session was quiet, focused, the air thick with unspoken restraint. During deadlifts, he stood behind me again to correct my form. His hands hovered this time instead of touching. Engage your core, he said low. I did. Good. On the last rep, my grip slipped slightly. He caught the bar with me. Careful, he murmured. I turned my head slightly. Neither of us moved. Seconds stretched. You're at 3 weeks, he said quietly, like he needed the reminder as much as I did. I know. Don't ruin it. I swallowed. Are you asking me not to kiss you? I'm asking you to finish what you started. My heart was racing so hard it almost hurt. You think I can't? He stepped back slowly. I think you can, he said. That's the point. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, body buzzing. This wasn't just emotional tension anymore. It was about control, self-respect, choice, and the craziest part? I was starting to understand what he meant from the beginning. Working on myself wasn't about abs or arms. It was about learning not to grab at something just because it felt good in the moment. It was about being able to want and still wait. Week 4 started with a quiet intensity neither of us acknowledged. He didn't count down the days. Neither did I, but we both felt it. The final Friday session landed on a rainy evening. The gym was nearly empty again. Just like the night this all shifted. Full circle. Last set, he said after pushing me harder than ever. My arms were shaking. My lungs burning. Again, he added. I almost laughed. But I did it. When I racked the weight, I didn't collapse this time. I stood there, breathing hard, but steady. He stepped in front of me. You finished it, he said. Yeah. No hesitation. I met his eyes. No hesitation. Silence stretched between us. Different now. Earned. You still feel the same? He asked quietly. My chest rose and fell slowly as I searched myself for doubt. I feel stronger, I said honestly. That wasn't the question. I stepped closer. Yes, I said. His jaw tightened, but not with restraint this time. With clarity, he pressed. With clarity. The rain tapped softly against the windows. You understand, he said slowly, that once we step out of trainer-client dynamic, there's no hiding behind it. There was no hesitation in me anymore. No desperation either. Just something steady. Still clear, he murmured. Very, I said. He wasn't overwhelming me. He was matching me. That realization hit harder than anything. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was chasing someone's attention. I wasn't guessing or hoping or shrinking, he said. He led me not by pulling, but by guiding out of the studio and into the quiet hallway toward the exit. The rain had picked up outside, streaking the glass doors with silver lines. When we stepped out into the cool night air, the contrast hit me hard. My skin was warm, buzzing. The world felt sharper somehow. We stood under the awning, rain drumming just beyond us. You okay? He asked. I nodded. Better than okay. He studied my face like he was memorizing it in this new context. No gym mirrors. No roles, no structure imposed from the outside. Just us. This doesn't become a secret, he said. And it doesn't become a shortcut. To what? I asked. To connection, he replied. Or growth. I smiled softly. You really are a trainer. He told me about a past relationship where he'd ignored red flags because the chemistry was strong. I told him about how I'd stayed small for people who liked me better that way. The rain eased into a soft mist. When he finally pulled me into a hug, it wasn't heated. It was solid. Safe. I'll text you, he said after a while. Not as your trainer. I laughed. I'd hope not. As I walked to my car, my body still humming, I realized something that surprised me. I wasn't replaying the kiss. I was replaying the conversation. The way he listened. The way he didn't rush. The way he met me where I was instead of pulling me toward where he wanted me to be. The first real date happened 3 days later. Not dinner. Not drinks. A walk. Elijah texted me mid-afternoon. Wear something comfortable. I'm picking you up at 7. No emojis. No explanations. My stomach flipped anyway. When he pulled up outside my apartment, he wasn't in gym clothes. Jeans. A dark jacket. Hair slightly damp, like he'd just showered. Ready? He asked. Yeah, I said, grabbing my jacket. Where are we going? You'll see. We drove out toward the river trail just as the sky was turning that deep blue that only happens right after sunset. Street lights flickered on one by one, reflected in the water. You nervous? He asked after a few minutes. Yes, I admitted, but not in a bad way. He nodded. Good. Means you care. We talked about everything and nothing. Music, childhood routines, the weird pressure of becoming someone you didn't expect to be. At one point, I realized something quietly shocking. I wasn't trying to impress him. I was just there. When we stopped near the railing overlooking the water, he leaned against it, turning to face me. I like you, he said simply. I squeezed his hand. I like you too. No grand declarations. No intensity spikes. Just truth. He walked me back to my apartment later, stopping at the bottom of the steps. I'm not coming up tonight, he said. I know, but I wanted to kiss you again, he added. I laughed softly. That part one was hoping for. This was new. Not exciting because it was forbidden. Exciting because it felt earned. And for the first time, I didn't wonder how long it would last. I wondered who I was becoming inside it. The weeks after that settled into something unexpectedly steady. We didn't announce anything. There was no dramatic shift. Just small, deliberate changes that added up. Elijah stopped being my trainer completely. Not we faded it out. Not we blurred the line. He formally handed me off to another coach at the gym, introduced it as a scheduling change, and that was that. No secrets. No overlap. The first time I trained with someone else, it felt strange. Like losing a familiar rhythm. But when I caught Elijah across the room not watching me work out, just chatting with a client, focused and professional, I felt something click into place. This was right. Outside the gym, we kept things slow. Coffee after work. Long walks that turned into conversations neither of us wanted to end. Quiet nights on my couch where nothing happened except shared space and the occasional brush of his hand against mine. And when things did progress, they did so naturally without urgency, without pressure, without me feeling like I was trying to keep up or prove something. One night, weeks later, we lay side by side, his arm resting around me, my head against his chest. The room was dark, the city humming faintly outside my window. You're different, he said quietly. I shifted slightly, looking up at him. Different how? Quieter, he replied, but not smaller. More settled. I thought about that. I think I finally stopped chasing the version of myself I thought I had to be. He nodded, thumb brushing slowly against my arm. That's usually when people start becoming who they actually are. I smiled. You always talk like you're giving life advice. Can't turn it off, he said lightly. Then, more seriously, you did the hard part. What hard part? Letting yourself be seen. That hit deep. I realized then that the gym had just been the doorway, the place where things started. But what we were building now had nothing to do with reps or routines. It was about showing up, about choosing each other without losing ourselves, about strength that didn't come from force but from intention. As I drifted toward sleep, his breathing steady beneath my ear, one thought settled in my chest with a calm certainty. He hadn't just helped me work on myself. He'd shown me how to stop hiding from who I was becoming. And that more than anything felt like love.